Okay. All right, guys. Today, this video is an updated video on Alton Brown's homemade soft pretzels that we'll be making in class. And so Audrey, my assistant, has pre-prepped a bunch of our ingredients. So you won't watch me measure everything, but I will do a measurement of flour. So 4.5 cups of flour, we're going to scoop and level, and I'm going to have that in a bowl ready to go. The other thing that's important, because this is a yeast dough, is we have to have the right temperature of the water to wake our yeast up. All right, that's super important.
As it's taken a very long nap.
That's right. Here's my third cup. 4.
How many cups are we supposed to put in?
4.5.
That's a lot.
And here's our half cup. All right. Okay. That aside for now. Okay, so I have my 4.5 cups of flour. We also have a tablespoon of sugar. Which one's sugar, Audrey?
Yeah,
This one? Okay, so we have a tablespoon of sugar.
Don't judge it being in a shot glass. That's the only thing I could find.
And then we also have 2 teaspoons of kosher salt. And we have a packet of yeast, but a packet of yeast would be 2.25 teaspoons of active dry yeast if you have a big container of it. And then we've got our flour, and we have some unsalted butter, 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter that has melted already. And so what we're going to do is I've got my warm water going here, and I'm going to measure it with our instant read thermometer. And what we want is for this water to be between 110 and 115 degrees. So let's see. The needle has just come above the 110 mark. Perfect. Like 113-ish, 112, 113. Okay, so in our warm water, we're going to put our sugar. Go ahead, throw that in.
Yay, I get to pull. Whoa, it made like an explosion in the water.
No, it didn't.
It
right.
like swirled around.
And let's kind of come down this way so that maybe.
By the way, we're using a computer, so that's what you see right here.
Yeah. Okay, and then we're going to put our yeast in, because the sugar is going to feed that yeast, right? It needs something to eat to wake up in the morning, just like people do.
Otherwise, it ain't gonna want to wake up.
But with that sugary sugarness, we also
do not smell it.
I know yeast is not a favorite smell for everyone, but we've got that sugar to feed this yeast and wake it up, and that warm water to wake it up. The sugar is going to be its food. And then we're also going to put our salt in. Now, for the purpose of this demonstration, I am doing this in a glass measuring cup. In class and on the recipe, it says that you can do this right into the mixer bowl. Go ahead, throw it in. Because this is what's called a mixer bowl recipe, or a mixer method recipe when you're using your yeast. So it's going to go in with the other ingredients. So you could do this straight into your stand mixer bowl.
I have a question. Still looks like water with lumps in it. How is that going to turn into dough?
So what this is going to do, it's a great question. This needs to ferment. And the fermentation process is going to take a few minutes to happen. So we have to let it sit for 5 minutes. So let that sit in there. Don't keep picking it out with a spoon. All right, we're going to let that sit in there and get a nice foam on top. And my students have been practicing this week. So they're going to be really used to what this looks like. But what will happen in the fermentation process is that yeast is going to wake up and it's going to eat the sugar, and then it's going to produce natural gas, which is carbon dioxide, which will make a foam on top. And that's what's going to make our pretzels rise. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, and I set a timer for 5 minutes, and we'll have a little snacky snack and come back. Okay, it's been 5 minutes. And we're starting to get some foam on top. All right, so there's this kind of sludgy foam stuff happening on top. And in class, we might not have a full 5 minutes, but as long as, bless you, as long as you get your yeast activated, you should be in good shape. We're going to go ahead and throw that into our mixer. And it tells us that we are going to add, that's good, our butter and flour. So our melted butter, oh, where did I put it? Here it is.
Can I put the towel in?
That. And then our flour. Go ahead. There it goes. We're going to put this in the mixer and use our dough hook attachment to mix it up.
This is hopefully going to turn it into a dough.
And so we're going to get it to combine, and then we're going to actually knead the dough for 4 to 5 minutes. So we'll end up speeding this part of the video up. First, I'm going to get it to just kind of form a dough. And then I'll turn the speed up a little bit. You want to look in there?
Yeah.
All right, our dough is done being kneaded in the mixer. And what I've done while it was mixing or kneading, you can see here's our ball of dough, is I put some oil in a bowl. You guys in school will do this in plastic bags where you'll spray some Pam spray, but we're gonna let this rise overnight when we do this at school. And here I'll probably let it rise for half an hour to an hour. I'm gonna cover it, I'll oil the top of the dough so that if it touches the plastic wrap, it doesn't stick to it. Good. And now we wait. Our dough has filled the bowl. It definitely rose. So I'm going to go ahead and unwrap it. And there's a few things that I prepared besides the dough. I have a parchment paper on a cookie sheet that I brushed some vegetable oil on. I have 2 of those. And I've prepared an egg wash. This is an egg yolk. Like my world's tiniest whisk, with 1 tablespoon of water. And then I have close by some sea salt as well to put on top of my pretzels. And then I also have a baking soda bath on the stove where I have water with baking soda dissolved in that you'll see what that step looks like in just a second. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is basically turn my dough out onto my counter. Now I'm actually going to use some of this cooking oil instead of flour right now and just kind of lightly brush it on my countertop that's all clean and sanitized. All right, and I'm gonna, boom, here's our baby. All right, so what I want to do is divide it into 8 equal pieces. So using a dough bench scraper, I'm going to go ahead, that's okay, and I'm divide this one in half. Then I'll divide each of those pieces in half. All right, and then, so I have 4. Okay, and then I'll do each of those pieces in half till I have 8 sections of dough to work with that are relatively the same size. Okay, all right, so I've got all kinds of sections of dough here. All right, so let me move these off camera for a sec so that we can work with one. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is make my pretzel. So what I wanna do is start out by making a rope. And this takes patience, all right? So rolling these out, you have to have counter space to work with. Sorry, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Audrey's getting ready for swim practice. And we have alarms going off everywhere. She's trying to eat dinner before she goes. All right.
And I'm also here to watch.
Yes, yes. Don't tip it. I'm using my phone and it's leaning against that flour bin. All right, it's important for you to go eat your dinner before swim. Okay, so my rope is almost 2 feet long, which is really long. Okay, and so now what I want to do is make a U shape. All right, so let me do this. All right, so I've got a U, and then I'm going to take the U shape and crisscross, and then make it dance in a swirl and come down to form a pretzel. Look at this little baby. All right, let's put that on my pretzel sheet. And I'm gonna keep doing that with all of my pretzel pieces. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do one more to let you watch that again. So first, I'm using my hands, and when I'm doing this, I'm rolling and stretching the dough simultaneously. Okay, and if there's one end of the rope that seems like it's getting like thicker than this end, then I'm gonna work my hands more on this end. Okay, because I'm trying to get like a big tube of dough, a big rope of dough that I can work with. Alrighty. So I've got my super long piece of dough that's going to be a pretzel in just a second. And then I'm going to take it, and remember I've got a U shape, and we're going to dance the twist and then lay down. And we have a pretzel. Okay, so let me show you. I'm going to move over to the stove top so that you can see how we use the baking soda. We're going to boil these pretzels, all right? And I will roll out the rest of mine in just a second. Okay, so I'm at my baking soda bath. And what I'm going to do is take my pretzels. You can see I've got 4 pretzels here that are ready to go. And I'm going to give them each a 30-second dunk into my baking soda bath. So I apologize that this light isn't fantastic, but we're going to make it work. All right, so it's going to hang out in there for about 30 seconds. Now, if you have a big enough pot, you might be able to put 2 in at a time. When we do this in class, you'll get to do this with a baking soda bath that the teacher will make, and we'll have like maybe 3 or 4 pots in the room that have this so that you can bring your tray over so you're not worried about creating your baking soda bath while you're forming your dough. And he's starting to get like a little puffed and fantastic. And we're going to go ahead. Oops, he made a little flip in the water. That's okay. And we'll get him out. And there we go. That guy's been boiled. Okay. And then I'll go ahead and do that with my next pretzel. All right. So here he goes into baking soda bath. 30 seconds is all he's going to need. This is what's going to give the outside of the dough that awesome texture that you want on the outside of a pretzel or the outside of a bagel. Boiling it does that. And the acidity in the baking soda is also going to help us out with that. All right. Okay, so that one's been in for 30 seconds. We're going to let it drip dry on the end of my spatula here and put it down. And I'll do the other 2 in just a second, but just for the sake of the video, I have my egg wash close by, and I'm going to go ahead and lightly brush this egg wash, which is going to give some fantastic color and browning, and it's going to give something for our salt to stick to. Okay, that egg wash is going to create a nice texture on the outside and a gorgeous color on my pretzels. And then I've got some sea salt, which is super fun. And then those will go in the oven. So I'm going to continue shaping, forming, and boiling my other pretzels, and I'll be right back. Okay, my pretzels came out of the oven. They look gorgeous, and we want them to be at least 190 degrees. Mine were in for 14 seconds. It looks like we are in a good spot there, because we don't want to over bake them, but we also don't want to cut into them to see if they're underbaked. So this is what our final product looks like. I'm going to transfer these onto a cooling rack, right? And we've got some gorgeous pretzels.